Julie here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Mercury, our Saturn night. And the moon is in the 8th house, with Saturn ruling it in the 11th. Saturn in the 10th. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, and Mercury is conjoining Regulus in its home sign Virgo. So, what I see in the energies, and we're about to have eclipses that are on the Pisces Virgo axis, with all the mundane relevant connotations to that. But I'm seeing something way grander than, let's say, any particular people. And what I'm seeing is, on a collective level, regardless of the position that you are at, it's becoming very uneconomic to oppress you. And for the collective, there are the people that begin to feel that's holding on to something where one tries to have excessive control over is becoming frustrating. And at the same time, because some people are just not overly controlling or anything, and in that case you discover that, hey, it's very irrational and uneconomic to keep going that way, to keep trying to and the tremendous amount of energy that's invested into that is not really yielding for anybody. So for the collective, whether it's because people, even people being pushed to a corner, begin to speak truth to power. And I think this is mainly because what people consider not nothing left to lose, but more so as what for them is a boundary that they would go above and beyond and speak truth to power and do things that perhaps a couple of even decades ago that would not be a boundary. And it can be different things for different people. Think about it. There's a saying that goes, white people did not abolish slavery and did not invent, white people did not invent slavery, but they were the first to try to abolish it. As uncomfortable as it is, okay? And think about the fact that feminism is 150 years old, around 150 to 200 years old. Of course, historians would see in retrospective examples of strong, powerful women. Think about the fact that children rights is so recent. And think about the fact that social media is only something that of the 2000s, mid 2000s. I'm not even talking internet, but social media, where people began to have a voice, and it didn't have to go through the process of posting to the editorial for everything that they wanted to say, and um, hoping to get published, or having to print out, finding someone to print out their writings, and all of that. So what people in the past were just used to. I'm 40. When I was in high school, if I wanted to publish something, um, there would be an editorial that it would go through. Or in high school, I actually joined the editorial because I know it's just going to be easier for me to publish an article if I also contribute to editing other people's articles. And so, what a couple of decades ago seemed just obvious, that not everybody gets to express their opinion on their own page or feed, now people go through literally crusades over. And Neptune in Aries is about the sovereign, almost people going through almost a crusade. However unnerving it may be to others. And so people that think about the Me Too, okay, people that were used to, I was working for the Israeli-Palestinian Chamber of Commerce. I actually did not cash in on that position. It was an apprenticeship position, because the atmosphere was making me feel sick. And it was both men and women that were participating in type of jokes that were unhealthy for my sexual energy, and I just couldn't be there. So one would say lost opportunity, networking and so on, but I couldn't be there. And other than that, the people were pretty nice, pretty decent. Was the ex-head of the Mossad or Shabak or ISIS, or I don't know. Um, Shimon Peres Center for Peace. So, like, overall, really nice people with a lot to offer. But when it came to those type of jokes, or that type of conversations, or the mingling that they expected to be there, that was just not something that was something in for me. So just think about 2-3 generations before me. That was something that they didn't even see as odd. After the Me Too, and I was not physically not able to withstand that environment. Okay, I would not give, like, for me, when I met the head of, I don't know, Mossad Shabak was recruiting for that position, and it's not intelligence position; it's just a secretarial position. And I was in one voice trying to plan a peace party and a panel of security to tell us what are the real challenges for peace, so that we can have an actual solution that allows for all people to live and have human rights. Granted that we're not going to genocide entire Israel, or I thought, or Palestine. I don't know. Anyway, that um, and I was told by this head of Mossad of Shabak that it was all money, that the Israeli-Palestinian Chamber of Commerce, which means we traded with a certain entity, um, uh, that was all about money. And so he was trying, but the story he told me was, because I came from one voice, then he told me that he was trying to create peace with commerce or with trade. So perhaps he was adapting his narrative to the individual, because I was a peace activist basically. Um, and I just think about the fact that, just a couple of decades before that, people didn't see those things as, or they didn't connect maybe symptoms that they were feeling. But for me, it was like I was not even able to cash in on the job. And it was both men and women. Okay, so, and I think that what people of older generations don't understand is the intensity of the crusade that people are going to be about their rights, because people are expecting more rights. People are expecting to be even more sovereign. And those that were hoping to exhaust that will have to exhaust themselves so much so that they really have to face themselves and ask themselves, like, because that's gonna be so much more energy to invest than they have predicted. People not only are not going to give up their sovereignty, they don't even see themselves as having enough sovereignty. Whether it's the Me Too, whether it's oppressed people or colonialism, whether it is patient sovereignty, whether it is economic sovereignty. Those older generations that want to push that push to the past with the power of technology, which is the definition of fascism, by the way. The fascists were combining advanced technology, the Nazis as well, because they were combining advanced technology with traditional family values. And the fascists were combining that with brutalist art. Um, so those ideologies are trying to push back for these ideologies. People are not aware the extent of the crusade, because it's like taking a person that only just began to explore their sovereignty and freedom of speech and financial freedom, and then saying, oh no, we're going to break that dream and do something else. And that person was fantastic. You know what? I actually also wanted to travel the world, not just to have a mansion. I actually also wanted to be able to accommodate for having a family while traveling. Yes, I actually had way more things that there's way more sovereignty needed. Actually, I also wanted to talk about that and to do that project. And like, oh, you really think that's gonna happen? And where the people are like, well, it better. And so, but what about the cattle? How you been treating the cat? I'm not. I don't have a farm or access to land where I can grow my organic food. It's the people that are slaughtering the infants and torturing the children together with the cattle that are trying to blame people that don't have a land and in their own crimes. Oh, but what about the Palestinians and the war in Palestine? Uh, we are all peace activists. Who are you talking to? Your country is doing this. Yes, our country did kidnap children, did the Epstein thingy, ritual satanic abuse. Cool that you're with us against that. Was there a safe place for Jewish to live regardless of their ability to work outside of Israel prior to 7 October? I can attest that there wasn't because I actually tried. I just escaped COVID. I came back to Europe. There was no housing for me, even though I'm a citizen. Oh, but they raped the cows. Well, aren't the people that rape the cows the same people that rape the women? Oh, but you eat cows. Again, do I have a farm and a land that I can grow my own food? And so, what's happening is that for the collective, there is this understanding, particularly around this eclipse cycle, that oppressing is going to be incredibly costly and beyond unyielding. People, and that is not coming in this orderly demonstration type of way. Because there was a thought with the basic style, hey, if we socially engineer the demonstrations and target individuals in them, we got it. No, they don't. No, they don't, because also the people that deal with assassination threats as public figures are targeted individuals. No, they don't, because also the watchers are satanic ritual abuse survivors. So you know this situation, hearing a noise outside just to make sure we don't have another Iran operation. Thanks my colleague Krasi that mentioned that the eclipses are also associated with Elam, which is Iran, Iraq, and the entire region. So, um, we might be subjected to another of that cycle. And look at this midheaven on Dana Balgadi when I started conjoining Dana Balgadi. When I started broadcasting. So basically, what is slowly being revealed is that the praxis of trying to oppress people, whether it's about gender, whether it's about nationality, whether it's about being able to grow their own food, whether it's about travel restrictions, whether it's about banking, that this is going to be a big deal. And for everything that they try to take away, they will have to give so much that it's not worth it. And I can give you an example. When during COVID, I don't know what happened. There was social engineering, and it caught on to the person that was my bestie. And he thought that if I don't manage to raise my business, then I would be like his employee or something. And that was connected to an attempt to enslave women in secret society stuff. And to try to keep me from doing astrology, which is bizarre. You don't want me not doing science, and you definitely don't want me not doing astrology. And some people learned it the hard way. But the thing is that they began to realize the true cost of how much they would have to fund if they would need to accommodate for me. How much my food costs, how much my minerals and vitamins cost, how much the essential oils that I use cost, how much me doing the laundry on boiling the laundry costs. And it wasn't even intentional, because I didn't get what they were trying to do. How much, for example, just today or yesterday, I saw an iRobot that also, if you have pets, cuts the hair of the pets as it vacuums it. Not cuts the pet's hair, cuts the hair that was let's say there's hair on the floor, so it vacuums and cuts the hair, okay? And it was named Saros, which is and the name of eclipse cycles in 10. I don't know what eclipse cycle is Saros 10, but the thing is that was costing around $1,700, and I was like, wow, that's costly. So, because for me, I would not be able to clean the place myself. I do astrology, right? I would need to buy an iRobot or something that helps me to keep the place in good shape. And so what happened is that person realized that they really are not able to take upon themselves, and they were participating, whether volitionally or not, in rituals, which was their own little demise, that even 5 years later they were still suffering from. Because I wasn't doing those rituals and they were, and I had no idea that they were until it backfired on them. And they thought that they could make a deal like a tree that makes a deal with another tree, that it will provide for it, but the other tree wouldn't grow as much. And it was also coming from a aromatherapy teacher that was trying to not allow me to grow as much and so on. And I'm like, I'm Jupiter ruled. What if I can't grow like in a certain trajectory, I have Uranus Sag, it will just manifest in other weird ways. So I just think back to that time and I understand that the world is experiencing something of that sort. What is the actual cost? Let's say people wanted to have a slave. What is the actual cost of having a slave? Now, if a person doesn't have sexual sovereignty, they are going to strangle those who try to, okay, think about it. They're going to put the people, if a person goes to sexual trauma and somebody tries to coerce them into something, the tendency is to put those who tries to coerce them into trauma. Trafficking is used for political assassination. And every person, and if people try to enslave other people, let's put it even in the most naive way. Let's say I was renting an apartment. So when I rent an apartment, the first thing I see, is it an apartment that I would want to buy? So I begin to think and I begin to work like I'm the owner of the house, to take care of the property, to look at the property, how much would cost to do this or to do that, because I'm setting to be a house owner. It's a natural process of growth of a human being. Now, if the person who is renting the apartment is scared of that idea and just think that the person would have a subscription to an apartment and not own apartment, or not want to upgrade to a bigger apartment, or even a smaller apartment but that serves their needs better, or okay, then they might feel like, oh my God, they thought to enslave someone into being a tenant, and it doesn't work. Because they see it as their property. But when that's on a lease, it's basically the tenant taking care of the things, and the landlord has to correct and fix the things. But if the landlord is being lazy, the tenant would take care of the apartment if they like the apartment, or they would move to another apartment. Because this is being an optimistic, financial freedom oriented, responsible, self-reliant individual. And if that venue is not open, then the subscription to renting an apartment is artificial. Or you would have a tenant that doesn't see ever having the possibility to own an apartment. They won't be able to clean the house. They won't be able to care for themselves. They won't be able to make money. And then if you further try to take their rights, so they would begin to go crazy, and then if you would give them substance, they would begin to go really violent. And this is how Israel was invaded in 7th of October. Not by Palestinians, by those who told people to put Zion in the Kalpi. Because they wanted to cancel the rights of disabled people who had disability because their work was corrupt. I'm not saying that Hamas did not invade Israel, but I live in Israel, not in Palestine. Palestinians can talk about the corruption of Hamas. Corruption of Hamas would not affect Israel if Israel would not be so corrupt towards its citizens, and thus susceptible to invasion. Now again, for example, before COVID, I was not thinking of myself as enslaved, that I lived in rent. I was like, as long as I can afford rent and I can have a good bargain and have, my growing maybe my business and so on, then I'm retired. Because I did a lot already until age 35. Now I had a whole legacy that I didn't even intend. Assisting people, activists against the right of people, mitigating suicide, all kinds of things that were like just happened. And so came COVID, and I was 2 times in lockdown in my own apartment, which was 1-room apartment. I told that story on the Spirit of Matter channel. And I said, well, I definitely need a bigger apartment. If they're going to do these lockdowns, you see, the actors that live in Hollywood, and I'm not envious of them, but when they're closing themselves in a space, it's one giant space. I'm going to need at least that if I'm going to be a week, 2 weeks in a lockdown. I'm going to need to travel, going to need to jog in my yard, so I need to have a plot of land big enough to jog in my yard. And every person has to have that grounding nervous system. So I became aware of my real needs. And this is how many people had awakening. The things that they didn't think they need, they realize they need. Now it's somatic trauma therapy. Okay? People reach to their toes or reach to their body, release anger, release this. They need to scream, to shout, and they need to do these exercises on quite a consistent basis because there's quite a lot of trauma out there. They need to be able to voice their voice, however annoying it may be for others. So they need their own space, which again, okay, housing that can actually accommodate for that. They need to set foot on the soil. There's nourishing soil. There was a declassified radioactive spraying of neighborhoods in the United States. That's why they call them the projects. So people are becoming more aware of their actual needs, and they want even more sovereignty. So it's becoming way more expensive. And then after these false flag operations, there are certain forces that expect people to go into austerity. What austerity? It was a false flag operation. It's our money. Not only were we not granted security when we were paying for it, somebody was making money from the war. Where are dividends? Where are shilumim? Somebody was making money from the war. So the war was prophesied. So let that somebody be in austerity now. And so that's the energy in the collective. Saturn rules Pluto in Aquarius. People don't really buy the old stories. And Pluto's out of bounds until 2035. So it's not the same Pluto in Aquarius. And it means that people want even more sovereignty than they did during the French Revolution. Now you can't fool people with democracy is not going to work because the people are not intelligence. Democracy has challenges because of the lobbying, because of unequal wealth distribution, but an economy that does an economy and the money that doesn't money. Now when they tell you, would we be able to replace the head of NATO with AI? They asked that in 2023. So the head of NATO is kind of pondering, because whether they grew up in secret societies that talk about master race or not, they kind of pondering about the fact that they might not be the one benefiting from all these wars, because even their secret society position can be replaced with AI. So who will? Oh, that sounds like the Hobbesian pre-social contract state of short, unhappy life. And I'm like, well, didn't they already live through that in the rubber bag? Like, haven't they retired from that dumb fuckery? Don't they want to retire from that dumb fuckery? Because the smart bunkers are exiling residents. You see, I was worried, a lot of people worried about the 15-minute cities like the ghettos. Like, have we considered the fact that the smart ghettos are actually going to exile their residents? So people are going to be smart exiled out of the ghetto, and then to put people that would, I don't know, assassinate them there. There's humongous amount of energy that needs to be invested That's not in the 5%. And if it is, it's like, hey, if a child is being tortured to extinction, why not target the guy that did that? So those are the vibes I'm getting from the collective. And and that's something that is, it's not new, but it's kind of with the eclipses being reiterated. It's like, I think whether it is the oppressors or the oppressed, everybody thinking, hey, this should be more easy. Abolish slavery and it will.